Welcome to Talk of the Town. I'm your host, Ellen Barrett, and we have a great show for you today. And we are starting off with our news partner, Phil Anderson for U.S. Senate. Thank you for being with us today.
Thanks for having me, Ellen.
And today we're hitting another hard-hitting topic, so let's just dive right into it today. We've got a lot to cover. What is your position on freedom of religion?
Well, freedom of religion is one of the basic guarantees in the Constitution, and there's a very good reason for that. A lot of the founders of our country and the colonists were escaping religious persecution, and not only persecution, but a required state religion in England. So when they came here, they wanted to make sure that people had the right to exercise their conscience in the political sphere. So that's why they included it in there, and I, of course, agree with that 100%.
Now, do your personal religious views kind of impact your political views?
They do. I normally keep them somewhat private, but I think people that have investigated my background know that I'm Eastern Orthodox and know my positions on things, but that's not something that I'm imposing on anyone else or trying to introduce into my politics. My politics and my positions stem from an opinion of and a long-standing tradition of understanding how human beings best interact with each other socially and politically. That's somewhat informed by my personal religious ideas, but that's not something that comes through and like I'm trying to impose that on other people through the political process.
How do you prevent religion from entering politics in general?
Well, we do that by not allowing religion in the government itself. And I think that brings up an interesting point about the difference between public and private space. So one of the issues that's come up in the campaign, specifically in the Gary Johnson campaign, is should business owners be required to sell their services or their goods or whatever, regardless of their opinions of the person? And I don't think so. I think that somebody has the right, if they own a business, to do business with whoever they choose, that their business is their private property, and that basically the market will sort out the bigots. So if somebody wants to not sell to somebody because of their sexual orientation, their race, their religion, whatever, that people of good conscience will choose against that. And it's important that we have that ability to choose that. Not everyone's forced to conform to a public view that's politically correct because that infringes on their liberty and their personal property, but also tends to hide things that we want to come to the surface.
Now, why is it so important that religion and politics are separate?
Well, because politics is a realm where people are, it's shared space. And religion is very, very personal. So when we talk about things that are good for everybody, the basic things of human existence, the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, these are things that aren't religiously specific in terms of how government interacts with people. It really is just a matter of knowing what the goal is, but not the reason that any particular person or candidate or party is trying to get to that goal. And I think we can agree on the basic premise that people do want peace, prosperity, and privacy. How we get there or why one person or another supports that idea isn't really relevant, I don't think, in the political sphere.
Now, do libertarians or the Libertarian Party, do they agree with kind of your view on this?
They do. I have some dissenting views with the Libertarian Party on a few things. Abortion being one of them and a few other things. But they do agree that there's a strict boundary between what's personal and what's public. And I agree that religion is a very personal thing, although people who are religious tend to believe things that they think apply to everybody, and that's understandable because that's really what religion does is explain our existence or a certain understanding of that or whatever, you know what I mean? But applying that to other people, libertarians understand the difference between private and public and want to keep that boundary intact.
And now what are your opponents' kind of views of religion when it comes to this issue?
Well, I would argue that Russ Feingold has sort of a civic religion, and that is he believes that government can solve everything and there's some sort of moral or even spiritual good in government. And I completely disagree because government, in essence, is coercion, and it's getting enough people to be able to force your will on the minority. So I think there's something obviously wrong with that. And in terms of Ron Johnson, I understand him to be a Christian, but he uses that, I think, as a he infuses that in his politics in terms of social policy, and that's why he's against things like allowing homosexuals to be married in a court of law and things like that. He's imposing his religion on people publicly that way. Russ Feingold doesn't have a specific religion in that sense, but his is more of like the worship of the state and of the majority and of democracy, which is a false god as well.
Such a big issue. I wish we had more time to kind of dive into it, but we'll have you back. We'll have you back again next week.
Fantastic.
For sure. Again, our news partner, Phil Anderson for U.S. Senate, thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
And we'll be back with more Talk of the Town right after this.